lots of games that we saw at Comic-Con, we'd kind of seen before. Maybe we saw the demo and got to play it at Comic-Con, or we just got a trailer and maybe we got like a little bit of gameplay now, or like finally got to see a little bit more new character, new boss or something. Korra, for the first time, finally got to play it. Finally got to play a decent Avatar game, period, in this franchise, because we just got like a crappy Wii game and a crappy Game Boy Advance game for Avatar, right? I had fun. What'd you think?
I had a good time with it. I was really concerned that people were like, it's going to be Platinum C team. Platinum's just supervising it. They're not really doing anything. The screenshots that came out, they look fine to me, but some people were like, oh no, I don't know about this. It looks goofy and stuff. Game in motion looks really good.
Yeah.
The animations for the bending looks awesome. So they nailed that part of it. So if you're worried about that, they definitely nailed that. For people for what they had at Comic-Con is they had a 3-part demo. Mm-hmm. You got to play as Korra battling some of the anti-benders, the ones trying
chi blockers.
Yeah, the chi blockers from season 1. So apparently, like, they wanted to resolve this. So it kind of ties into a little bit of the story what they're doing. The game set place between
2 and 3.
2 and 3. You're fighting them, and then you fight the gang members from the first episode. Actually, are kind of like the mini bosses of the stages, and you fight them all at the top together. And that was like the best sampling of like the combat system, switching in real time between the 4 different elements. So you had like earth, air, fire, water. You build up a meter, and then you can do. You can become more powerful doing that. There's also so it's strong and weak and heavy attacks essentially, and you string them together in combos. And then there's also each weak and heavy can do a charged attack, and you see like a little circle that like constricts until it gets around you.
2 levels.
It
if I kept holding it, it did 1, and then it did another
2
one.
levels, and you were supposed to release it as the circle was like right on Korra to get the most damage out of it. And then they had a dodge. So they have, for those who care, they had a counter system, a perfect counter system, which is not when the enemy flashes red. It's after they flash red, the next hit they're going to do, you can block it at the right time, and you can do a counter move, which is a quick time event, which was really cool. And then they have the dodge system, which is reminiscent of Bayonetta in that you can't just spam dodge, and you're supposed to dodge at the right time to get in the best position. But I don't know if I've seen this in other games, so I'm sorry if I'm wrong, audience, but you can only dodge 4 times within a time period before you have a recovery animation. So you cannot spam dodge and just like do that all day long. So for those, it had the tropes of a Platinum developed action game, but it was way too easy. I was really sad they didn't have the extreme difficulty unlocked. They had casual and normal, and it was just too short. I was like, no, I need more. I need more of this.
Well, just for reference, because that's just funny Damiani story, guys. So like I get to the appointment like 5 minutes early, and there's Mike, and I open the door. I'm like, oh, here we go. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. You're like, I played it 5 times. I gotta go. And you were out of there before our appointment time.
Yes. I got there
right
early.
To business.
Yeah, I wanted to go get a Nomura signature for Kingdom Hearts. And
cool.
But I came back afterwards to the party, and I stayed there the entire time playing the game even more. So the next part was like a runner stage where you're on Naga.
Yeah, what'd you think about that?
Did not like that.
So that's a runner much. To be specific. Like
endless runner.
What's the
you can't stop.
What's the main endless runner? What was the one that really like broke the genre out? Like the jungle game.
Ian.
Temple Run, right.
Thank you.
Yeah, like that. You're ducking, jumping, left, right,
But you can use your bending abilities to destroy obstacles. There's a little bit of platforming involved. There actually was a shortcut. No, I won't call it a shortcut. There was an alternate route at the beginning, which was a harder course where you had to like change directions in midair. There's actually, you can control how high you jump because you don't want to hit like the traffic signs. You also want to make sure you don't jump too low so you don't like catch the bottom of a bus, because one hit against a solid object that isn't a tiny destructible car, and you have to restart. And then I think you get like 4 hits on Naga's life. It was the least entertaining part of it. I hope they do something more with it, but for me, it was the least impressive.
Got to get Naga in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like for scores and for people who want to compete best times. And then it wrapped up with I'll call it a mini boss. It was a mecha tank, as Brian was calling it at the event, because I think he forgot the name of them as well. The tanks made by Asami's father's corporation, and you fight one of them, and it was just basically more of like dodge at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
like close. They try and get away from you, so you get a close distance on them really
Anything
quickly.
electric you can't dodge.
Yes, so that
they-
was really cool. So I explained like there's the counter system. You can't counter everything, and some of the elementals you can't counter. One of them is lightning.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who uses a lightning attack, you cannot counter it no matter how good your reaction skills are. You have to dodge out of the way. And this boss was a mix of lightning-based attacks and through normal ones. The normal ones you could counter. So he'd do like an arm swing to try and hit you. If it was the electrified one, dodge. If it wasn't, you could parry it and then do like a counter hit against it. And then there was also it shot out the rope or whatever. They like try and tie up Korra.
Yeah.
But if you countered that at the right time, you can knock it back. Like you could do that on the regular enemies who were hurling those things at you.
Yeah.
And then you could hit it back at them and stun it. So there was like, it had, again, the platinum things where there's certain things you think you can counter and some things you can't. It was just enough to show that, okay, there's potential here. And they had all the combos set to like max. So you had like everything unlocked apparently. So.
And they also mentioned that Korra gets her bending taken away. Which is classic Metroid, at the beginning of the game, and then she's got to get each element back. So what we were playing through, she actually just has water bending, but they gave us all of the elements.
So you're saying the beginning we were only supposed to have water, but
When we actually play the level we played
you
at
only
Comic-Con
have
in the
low
final
level
game,
water. Yes,
you'll just have that
exactly.
one element.
It seemed like the first level as well. It was on Airbender Island.
But I mean, that's mandatory for me. Whenever I would, watch the original Avatar, or when I was watching Korra hanging out with friends, and we're just like, a video game. When are they going to make this?
Yes.
It's like you obviously have to switch between the elements. You obviously have to do it on the fly. It's we played on PS4, and it was the R1 and L1 buttons, so you can only switch between them. You could switch if you memorize like what's next to what, and so you're like, if you're using water and you know that like Earth is 2 clicks to the left or right, then you can switch really fast. I really liked the difference between them. So like Earth is obviously very defensive. You can like juggle people. You can send people up in the air. Wind seemed like an AoE almost. You kind of almost like Dynasty Warriors. Like if you get like a bunch of people surrounding you, you can just like do a spin attack and then.
It was also like very mid range. Like it had some long range, but also you wanted to you didn't want to get too close because you wanted to start your attacks to get into the cyclone based attacks.
Fire was very close range
and very fast.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was fast. And
water was like sniping people.
Long range.
Like
yes.
There were guys who would show up on like rocks and cliffs and stuff, and he was sniping them with water.
And it was interesting because one thing that was cool is when you double tapped the dodge button on firebending, you did like like a rocket boost basically. Anyone who's watched the original Avatar will be familiar with that move.
Did you dodge with wind?
And then wind, oh yeah, wind ball.
I'm such a nerd, man. When I first did that, actually, I was there with my wife Amanda, and she played the demo once, and I played it on casual just to like get it, and then I played through again on normal. And when I was playing through the second time, she came over and I did the wind dodge, and she's like, it blew her mind. She was like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" Where they do like the little wind basketball below their feet, where they spin around on that Aang did all the time. That all the wind students in the Korra do, all the little kids. It was
good to see that. And as you mentioned, just being able to change between the elementals, like the one thing they were trying to tell people to try out was open with an earth attack to launch them up, switch into water bending, and then juggle them in the air with from the distance with the water bending, and then as they were coming down, switch to air and charge your AoE so that you could like keep them the AoE. One of the follow-ups was a wind shoryuken. That was like the coolest thing. Like you did all these hits, then he held his charge down, and Korra just goes like shoryuken, but she doesn't say that obviously. But it looked really cool. And the air combat, there were some minor camera issues. If you played Revengeance, kind of had the same thing. So I hope that they do address that, because there are times when enemies would be off screen, or you're in a corner and you couldn't really see.
And you're used to the show being so cinematic that it's a little rough.
And then the other thing was the lock. There was actually a lock-on button to focus, because it was really easy to get disoriented.
Whoops!
But it was the L3 button, which is the movement. They got to change that. That can't be the same thing.
So the tough question. A lot of crazy Korra news recently. Like like maybe gonna continue. Nickelodeon says they're going to do a 4th season, and like we are gonna get the rest of season 3. But obviously Nickelodeon's a little worried about how the franchise is performing on the channel. How well do you think this game's gonna do? I mean, do you think this is gonna be something where they're just gonna be like, "Oh, that was a big mistake."
I don't think you were at you should have seen the line for the panel, for the actual show panel, and then the line for the game to get in at the party. Like they were both madhouses.
Well, but again, you divide up the Comic-Con audience into who likes Korra. Obviously, it's going to have a big line. You'd look at all of the viewers or all of the potential video game consumers out there. Is there enough slice of the pie for something like this to get a sequel?
The problem is Korra, like television, no offense, cable television is like dwindling. Like not enough people watch it. The only ones that get any kind of
clearly
attention
the internet's taking over, right?
Well, yeah, even like Game of Thrones, for as well as it does rating wise, like people borrow whoever's friend's account of HBO Go to watch it online free, or then they download it digitally.
Right.
They were saying the stats for Korra, people were just downloading it, and yes, and the problem is Korra and Avatar before it don't really fit on Nick. Like I think I can say this as a former Viacom employee, like. They don't know what to do with some things, like look at GameTrailers, but also look at like Avatar and Korra. Like they just didn't really know what to do with those series very well, and it was popular enough to order a sequel. They thought it was going to be a major blockbuster movie trilogy.
Right.
They obviously screwed that up pretty badly. This is smart. Put it digitally where people want to watch it, because Friday at whatever the hell o'clock they were putting on, no one wanted to watch it then.
And the game is digital too. It's downloadable.
That's good too, because it'll allow more people to get it for cheap. And yeah, Nick didn't market this very well, any of this. So the fans have been carrying the torch for this. It is super popular. I think the show will still do well, because the digital ratings they were saying were doing really well. The show ratings were just in the gutter.
Right. But this game not only meeting up to the standards of this awesome television show and this awesome franchise that's done so many amazing things in animation, but a potentially pretty fun fighting game on its own right.
Oh, I mean, a character action game like Platinum. I mean, fighting game, whatever you call it. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's going to turn out awesome, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being, one of the most demanded games one of the best selling games that month, even though it's a digital only game.
And pro bending, which we didn't talk about, which they didn't show, but cool if you're into like the pro bending sport that's on the show. Apparently, your avatar, you're the avatar. You're restricted to just water bending, and you got Mako and what's his name? What's the other name? Bolin, and they're there fighting with you. Like I don't know if it's just not finished or the reason why they didn't.
You had to beat the game to unlock it, was what they said.
Okay,
but
sounds like fun.
Yeah,
potentially.
We'll see.
So we'll see.